Testing, testing. Welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing. We are here for round number 8 for the French Grand Prix here in the silver class. And as always in season 15, we are live on both the YouTube and the Twitch. Encourage you guys to watch on your preferred platform. It is myself, C Freeze, once again here in the commentary booth for the silver class, and I will be taking you all through tonight's proceedings. It's gonna be a good one. It's dry right now, but you might need to get your ponchos because it's gonna be a little wet when it comes to the race, as I am getting word from some of the drivers. So I want to welcome everybody in. Thank you all for tuning in to this silver class once again on your Tuesday evenings. Hope everybody is doing a-okay. And with that being said, we'll need your help here tonight because it is only myself, so feel free to ask me some questions, give your comments, predictions when we get to that segment, and anything else on the YouTube I got pulled up right here. So let's have some fun tonight. We got our usual gang here, and Chabar's the first one to start a qualifying lap here at France. French Grand Prix, we're in season 15. I think we ran it back in season 13. We did not run it last season. First time on this F122 game, and it could be the last time we're ever going to be doing a league race on at France, because it is not on the calendar for the 2023 Formula One season, although I do have a feeling that we will see it again. As you see, the Alfa Romeo is getting a little bit of a slipstream here on Chabar's first run. Let's see if might have got away a little bit. I still think we might see the French Grand Prix on next game, as Portimao and China were DLC tracks and they weren't on this year's calendar. So I do think we still might be seeing it in the near future. So, but if not, it was always a nice fun track. I think it played a little bit better in league races. The weather, like we'll see today, could be a little bit crazy. I think it plays better in league racing. Real F1, maybe not the best. There was some decent Grand Prix, but nothing spectacular. There's many different segments you could be running here at France with all the combinations. I always thought they would change and do a different alteration of it, but it seems like they've always just stuck with the one. But nonetheless, it is it's a fun track, fun Grand Prix. I remember one of the first times when it first got added in to the game in 2018. Took a little bit for everybody to realize when to turn on the back straight for that chicane, because there was a whole bunch of other segments that you can maybe get confused with all of the different lines, and it is a really nice track visually around the outside with the French colors going around with the red and the blue, with those little strips. Or actually, they're there more in real life than the game, but they're there to actually try to slow the car down. It's not just painted lines, it's actually some sort of a grippy tarmac. I don't know what it really is. It's kind of one of the first of its kind, really, in these newer alterations of the newer Grand Prix. But it's there for purpose, but also design. And that's my next point right now. It's Camden on provisional with J&B in second. And for those tuning in, I just want to give a little insight of what we're going to see here in this silver class for this season It started off with Camden Luca winning the first 3 Grand Prix after finishing runner-up last season in season 14 against Rafa Hulk. He had a lot of pole positions, a few race wins, but it was ultimately Rafa Hulk, who is now in the Golden Class, and you can see him tomorrow for the Golden Class. Tomorrow, Wednesdays, same time, same place. He started out the season really good, and it's still going really good for him. He's finished on the podium every single race. You can cut the track on your quali lap, so you could see a little fun gamesmanship with the slipstream. Just a little heads up there. Yeah, Camden started with 3 wins. It looked like he was going to be running away with the championship. He's been very consistent, but as of late, he hasn't been winning the races. It's actually been J&B, the Haas team, who is also in the lead of the constructors' standings, but not the driver's standings just yet. J&B, he won the last 4 Grand Prix, so Camden and J&B are the only 2 to win a race here in this season. We'll see if that trend and forecast has on display. But in the Drivers' Championship, it's Camden Luca with 150 points, J&B with 134, so not too far back. We're talking about 16 points there. You have Carson, who is P3. He's really that next guy to really see if he's going to grab a win. He's been close multiple times. I think he can get one pretty soon. He's at 117, so it's really 3 people who are kind of in that championship hunt. If Carson could start winning some races and get good in this second half, I think he still has a fair shot at it. El Capitan has 82 points in 4th. F1 Nerd has 66 points. Chabar has 48, and Halberg 38. With Formula Jonah at 36, and that is for 8th place. And the only reason I mention all the way down to P5 and a little bit farther down is because in a few races we have the All-Star race. It's right between round 10 and 11. And in order to qualify, in order to transfer over into that All-Star race, you need to be in the top 5 in each of your standings for each class to get transferred over. And then the other 5 spots are wild card entrants for either previous veterans or champions of TCR, or you could still get an invite if you're an active driver as well. So a little incentive there for some of the drivers. That'll be, once again, between round 10 and 11. It's necessarily that off week, but we'll be running the All-Star race instead. When we move on to the constructors tables, it is not an Alfa Romeo at the top. Alfa Romeo, the same driver pairing won last season, Camden and Chabar. They are not leading it. They got transferred over a few weeks back. Haas is now leading. J&B and Capitan, 216 points to Alfa Romeo's 198. It does seem like a nice fight between those 2 teams. The next team would be the AlphaTauris of Carson and the big Toblerone. Here he is. Both have been pretty good. Toblerone's been quick. His problem's been the spins earlier on in his stints, and that's what's kind of been hindering, I guess, the team's progression. Missing out on a few extra points, but that potential is really there, and I'm looking for some nice good races hopefully in the second half to minimize those mistakes and to go get some points for AlphaTauri. So that is what we got. That's the scouting report brought to you by TCR merchandise. We still have it on the website if you want. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hats, we have esports jerseys and esports hoodies, which are customizable. You can put your username on there, your number, your flag, all that good stuff. Go head over to our website. You can check us out there for more information and that TCR merch, which I saw Halberg get himself a nice custom esports hoodie. and he said it was worth the wait. They do come from overseas, so it does take a little bit more time than your usual Amazon Prime. It won't be 2 days, it'll be a little bit longer than that. But here's Halberg in 6th in that nice McLaren. Seems like he's on an in-lap, if I had to guess. Buzz Marquet in the YouTube comment says, cool stream, did I miss the race? No, we're just getting going, so sit back, relax, maybe grab a beverage, hopefully water, I would recommend. It's a good healthy drink for you. And enjoy the race. It might get wet. Is water wet? That's the question. Is it wet or not? First driver into the 130s, Camden Luca. Nice time there. And J&B's up on his time, about a 10th and a half. To the line, it'll be barely, but provisional pole position for the time being by 2 thousandths of a second. This is going to get good, I'm telling you. The battle between the silver class just got interesting. Let me tell you. J&B versus Camden Luca. Camden won the first 3 races. J&B won the next 4. Can J&B make it 5 in a row? Oh, that would be something. That'd be a statement. Whew. This is going to be good. Buzz Marquet in the YouTube comments says, great, I am new to F1 and came across your channel. Love your vids. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Appreciate the support. Yeah, we are mainly North American league, more generally, just based off of the times that we do the racing. But yeah, this is the silver class. This is the I wouldn't say I mean, it is the bottom class, but I wouldn't say it's a bad class by any means. But it's the entry level mixed assist tier for TCR. Then we got Wednesdays. There's the golden class, racing line only, and platinum class on Thursday, and it's racing line only as well. It's basically the top 20 versus the next 20. That's how we split those 2 classes up speed-wise. And we do still have seats for the silver class. I know more particularly we've been trying to fill some seats. It's I do have to say some huge credit to all the silver class drivers, because although we aren't full in the silver class, and I do really partly blame the state of the game. I mean, I've known a lot of other leagues, they're not even doing seasons at this during this year, because the state of the game, the motivation for the drivers, and the want for league racing at this time and point is not where it once was. Nice purple middle sector for Bags there. Let's get a nice time on the board, Bags. Get you up there. Come on. But for those who were signed up and full-time drivers here in the silver class, they are great with their attendance, showing up each and every week. As Bags went for a little spin there, which hinders. I don't think he's going to get a lap time. It's going to be a little too late unless he has enough fuel to recharge to at least put something on the board. We have a few Alfa Romeos coming through. This would be Chabar next. I think he's just starting in time. So I think this will be Camden finishing a lap here. No. I think they're both starting. My apologies. Yeah, everybody's juicing up. It seems like the Alfa Romeos went out a little bit earlier than the Haas's. You see J&B's just starting his lap time now, and Capitan is also just starting his lap. He's yet to do so, actually. With this time by, he'll be starting his lap time. So they'll be using the maximum of the track evolution that's available here. The track is at its peak. The best times will be at the end of the qualifying session. The later you cross the start-finish line, the better off you will be if the conditions are purely sunny. To the line for his final lap of the day, puts him P9. Does improve barely, but not enough. Next up is Camden Luca, who'll go provisional pole, a 30.7. He'll extend that gap up in front. Will it be enough to hold on? J&B's next across the line. He would be the pretty much only one. Maybe Carson has an opportunity to snag pole position. Around the final corner, it looks like he was up on a 10th. Will it be more? He'll probably need a little bit more. And he was up a 10th, not good enough. He'll start at least, at least P2. We are checking with an invalid lap time. El Capitan coming across the line for the Haas. Will he be one more position good? Will he get up on the front row? He'll go P3. I'm busy right now. What? I'm busy right now. I can't talk right now. Good lap there by Carson. And he will get up onto the front row ahead of the Haas's. So that is good for him. The other AlphaTauri didn't get a lap time, so it'll be a 2 and 12 for them. Oh man, and Carson has had some really good starts. I do expect him to be leading the race. Probably by turn 2, he'll be the leader. His starts this year have been incredible. I didn't even realize how close it was. Only 800ths separate the top 3. And it's going to be Camden Luca to grab another pole position. I want to see how many he actually has in this season, if I could have enough time. Let's see. This would be Camden's 4th pole position. In comparison, J&B has 5. J&B, actually, another interesting thing, J&B either qualified 1st or 2nd, no lower than that. So this is the first time he's not on the front row, and whoa, did it get rainy real quick. Rain is very likely here at France. I remember the last race I did in Platinum Season 13, it had some sort of rain involved in it, more towards the end of the race. I think it started up dry. I don't know if it's going to be wet the entirety of it, but if it is, which there's a good chance at least half this race will be in full wet, I do expect a lot of time penalties. Because it is very easy to get some. Cutting turns 1 and 2, the exit of turn 2, even to get onto the back straight, the chicane that separates the back straightaway. There's many opportunities to either extend or get a corner cut penalty, as there's the strategy. It doesn't say the weather, so the strategy is a one-stop on full wet tires. So this leads me to believe it's going to be a full wet race here in France. Whew. And technically you do not have to pit. If you want to go 27 laps on wet tires, I don't think they'll make it. But it could probably work, but it's probably better to split it up and do 1 and 1. This is the formation lap, so this is the time for predictions if you're watching. Thank you for that, and hopefully you stay tuned in to this nice silver class race we have this Tuesday evening. Leave your predictions down below, your top 3 and any other predictions you'd like. Yeah, we always say top 3, but hey, if you have any other crazy predictions, put them down there below. For me, oh, this is going to be tough. The last 4 races, I believe I've always picked Camden, and J&B got the win. Earlier this season, I wasn't picking him because he was a new driver to the league. He had a couple minor mistakes earlier on, and I wasn't really comfortable picking him. But I believe we've had wet weather, and he's been pretty good in the wet. And I think he's a really quick driver. He's proved some consistency. So for me, even though this is the lowest he started, it is still P3. It's a good spot. I have J&B winning this race. I think Camden will continue his podium streak in P number 2. And I think Carson will finish off P3. So I think the top 3 will still finish top 3, just in a slightly different order. But leave your predictions down below before it's too late, as the drivers line up for 5 red lights. The time's a-ticking here for round number 8, the French Grand Prix, the Silver Class, Season 15. Freeze with the call, Oreo with the jump start, Carson with the lead over Camden. J&B's looking outside. It's a wet start. So far, so good. The Aston Martin of Oreo cutting the track in the background there. J&B, Camden still side by side. The contenders are battling up front. The crucial track position, it's difficult to overtake in the rain. This is good track position if you can hold it around the outside. Camden will try it. Oh, J&B almost lost the car. Now it's going to allow CJ to get the inside. J&B having to go off track just a minute. He's avoiding the DRS sign as he comes and rejoins. He'll pick a little bit slipstream up ahead. There's a yellow. It's going to be a VSC, I do believe. Carson with the lead, and a nice considerable lead out of that. Camden was able to hold on, defend that from J&B. It does seem like the game would give it to CJ for P3. And he just lucked out too, because as soon as the VSC came out, he didn't have to really fight for the position. He had a little bit of a nose ahead of J&B, and that was just enough to keep the position. If it stayed green, they would have still went side by side through the chicane. It wouldn't have been certain if he actually did get that position. So a good start there from CJ. Capitan's down a few spots as we are back green. J&B gets a nice jump, and he gets it on CJ. Just like that. And honestly, I think, I mean, we'll see how this race plays out, but J&B isn't really racing CJ. And it's no offense to CJ, it's just such great props to J&B and how quick he really is. F1 Nerd will get the go-ahead on CJ. That's for 4th. You can see the little bit of a counter steer J&B has to input into the wheel. And it's only going to get worse if these tires start to wear. He's using a little bit of the battery. As we have a spin in the back, a little bit of an off. It seems to be CJ with no front wing. He must have hit the wall and might have spun coming onto the back straightaway. He will definitely need a new wing. I didn't even mention it. That's why the VSC came out. Baggs is out of the race. I thought it was a local spin, a local yellow, but Baggs is out of the race. Oreo with that drive-through. Top two seem to be closing in on Carson a little bit. It was around 2.5, 3 seconds. Now under 1.5. And it looks like it's raining so much. It looks almost like it's hailing, or even I'd even consider it snowing on my screen. It looks a little thick. Toblerone up 6 spots after starting P12. He'll be in 6th. Both of the Aston Martins in the pit lane getting some service and penalties. Jabbar trying to make an overtake on Weird checking. He'll look into the chicane. Weird checking goes a little bit deep. That'll give Jabbar around the outside an opportunity. As Camden gets overtaken by J&B. These conditions look really tough, and I don't think they're lightening up at all throughout tonight. Shabar gets that spot on. We are checking. He'll be up into P8. 6 seconds back from the next driver. It looks like he got held up a lot on that opening stint. Opening few laps. Let's see if he can get back up to the pack there. Next one is Halberg in 7. You know who's good in the wet? F1 Nerd. I feel like he's good in the wet. I feel like we haven't seen too much wet racing. But I just have a feeling. I think F1 Nerd, I mean, right now, he's closing in up. I mean, there's a purple middle sector for you. Can F1 Nerd get up there and spoil the party? Can he make his name known? There's the 4 leaders right there. Carson still leading this race, 1.3 seconds now. Obviously, DRS is irrelevant here, so you're going to have to do it old school. J&B with the fastest lap, 147.621. He's pushing these limits. The good thing about wet races is usually the drivers don't really practice the wet. I mean, this would be a nice track to practice the wet. Going to France, you would probably do some laps if you really wanted to be somewhat prepared. Even 5-10 laps, even in time trial, full wet or whatever the conditions would be good to just get a little bit of knowledge about the track. But it sometimes takes drivers, if they don't do any practice, which I'm not assuming, I'm assuming no one has done wet practice, usually around 5 to 10 laps to really get comfortable. It seems like the conditions are staying constant, so with the lowering of the fuel, if they do decide to pit and split the race up in 2, get some fresh tires, fresh wet tires at the end, lower fuel, a lot more laps under your belt, then that's when you start to push those limits a little bit and get those lap times coming down, and then you really truly see who is the best in the wet, really pushing those limits more towards the end of the race once you get into that nice rhythm. And like I said, it looks to be a constant race with these conditions, so once you kind of get in that rhythm, you can bring that all the way back down to the start finish in that checkered flag. Hopefully one of those drivers will do today. I believe that's Omega, as I understand from last week, in the YouTube comments saying, I wish I was still in silver. Yeah. Silver's a nice class. I really do enjoy it. I love doing the commentary on these guys. It's a nice group this year. And I'm looking forward to the next season, next game. Oh, man. Oh, man. Carson loses the lead, and good thing there's ghosting, because he would have took out F1 Nerd. Lead change, J&B takes over. crucial mistake. Usually it's Toblerone making those mistakes, but it's Carson this time. And man, such a crucial one too. He had a nice start to it. I probably just got a little trigger happy or a little too heavy on the foot. I think he's a wheel user. He gets right ahead of Capitan. But the top two, J&B was able to get past Camden, although Camden's kind of keeping with him. As now, the tides have turned. 147.549 for Camden Luca, setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. It does look pretty close after 6 laps. I know Carson did make that spin. I don't know if that was before or after your comment. As CJ's was calling it quits in the pit lane. Not the best day in the office for Aston Martin. Hey, I can relate. Me and D'Angelo both, we have been doing rough this year. It happens. To the best of us. It's important in these wet races, these full wet races, when it kind of is now a 2-horse race. At the time being, it's looking like a 2-horse race. It's important for Camden to remain in contact with J&B, and what I mean by that is keep them close. And if you want, let him lead this race a little bit. I'm sure he didn't like hell behind him, but you want to remain in contact. The second you make a mistake or make that gap a little bit bigger, a few seconds, it's hard to bring that gap down, because then you let the leader become a little bit more comfortable. So this pit sequence, when the drivers do ultimately decide to pit, which I think they will at some point, it's important to nail the pit sequence. You want to remain in contact with the driver. In this case, Camden wants to be as close or if not ahead of J&B, and J&B wants to extend the gap, make sure he doesn't make any big mistakes, but it's crucial for both drivers. I'd say a little bit more for the driver behind than in front. Right now they're just pacing each other. 27 laps is a considerable distance. You just want to be managing your race the best you can. If anyone has a worse, it's really Camden, because he's running in the dirty air of the car in front. He's got all these laps to figure out what J&B is doing different than him. He's got all these laps to figure out, all right, where is he weak, where is he strong, and compare that to yourself. You see a big mistake from both drivers. J&B goes off a little bit, and Camden, big moment there, almost losing the car, and now it's 1.5 seconds the gap. He's got to take a nice deep breath, regroup, and try to attack again. Update on the other Alfa Romeo. He closed the gap to Halberg. I don't know if Chabar was moving forward or Halberg moving backwards. I'm not too sure. Halberg did lose contact with the group out ahead, which is Toblerone. Chabar should be making a move here ever so shortly into the chicane. He used no battery down the straight. Very confused why he wouldn't use anything. But maybe he'll use some now. No, he doesn't, so... Oh, now he starts to use some. This flat right-hander is difficult in the full wet. You need a nice setup under your belt in order to do that even close to flat out. Oreo's out of the race. Is that by pit lane or is that by... Watch out! Whoa! That's a risk you do not want to take. Especially in these buggy Codemaster games. I've seen... You don't want to know how many times I've seen a car trust the ghosting system and go through the car rather than try and avoid it. I don't care. You could pay me. I'm not going through a ghosted car in these games. It's hurt me and others so many times. I can't even count. Closest battle on track would be Chabar. Now he's using the battery, and this should be a nice, easy overtake as there's a little bit of glitching. Chabar up to 7th. Next closest battle, Carson on F1 Nerd. Whoa, very close to the back there. Send on F1 Nerd down the final corner. That's always a fun corner to send it down the inside. Didn't quite work, but he's got plenty of opportunities. Gets a nice exit. Carson could be up onto the podium. He does, but look at the speed F1 Nerd's got. He's darting those raindrops real good. He's dodging and weaving down the straight. You know, some people, there's always been that question, is if you're in an F1 car, do you actually get wet in the car with the rain? Or are you going so quick that you remain dry? And I feel like some water does get in, some raindrops does get into the cockpit, but because it's fully open, I mean, something's got to go in. But I don't think they get as drenched as we might think if, let's say, you're just sitting outside on a bench, or let's say in your car and you got the sunroof open and you're just sitting at a red light. Like, I don't think you're getting dumped. Let's try it again. Carson down the inside. Oh, he fishtailed it out of the final corner. He was in the first gear. And he'll have to settle down and regroup. Make sure Capitan doesn't get by. Watch out, he's close. Capitan, he's been doing really good this season. He's been he's a returning driver from TCR. He raced back a few seasons ago, and this is let me tell you, a much better version of Capitan than we ever have seen in TCR. He's been doing really good, consistently in the top 5, many podiums as well this season. But he's doing exactly what he needs to do, and that's to support his teammate, his little boy up in first, J&B. Capitan's main goal is to beat out the second driver in the Alfa Romeo, which is Chabar. And J&B's goal is to beat out Camden, and that would be a constructor's title. So they are looking for the trophies, in which they will get a physical trophy. The constructors champions and the top 3 in the drivers championship. For those listening and wondering of where the trophies are from last season and how it's going to work this season, they are going to be shipped out. It's a long process. First time we were doing it. This season we're going to have them almost immediately, so it should be a lot better. You saw F1 Nerd go a little more defensive through that corner, just because probably PTSD from Carson, to be honest with you. But Carson had to, then he had the optimal line. Nice exit out of the final corner, and you could see he's a lot closer with that momentum. You look at the gap out in front. I was, my point really came true from what I was saying earlier. You have to remain in contact with the leader. Once you slip out 1.5 seconds, it starts to grow, and that gap is hard to bring back the other way. You saw that mistake out of turn 2, I believe, a few laps ago, maybe 4 or 5 laps now, and he got around that 1.5 second gap, and he was been losing ever since. We'll see if the pit sequence can change that for Camden and J&B and the remainder of the order. We don't have many runners left, so I don't know if the safety car is really doable here. The walls are pretty far. I don't know how anyone finds the wall unless you're Charles Leclerc, and we're coming to that corner up to the straight ahead. That's where he lapped up, went straight ahead right there. And I'm surprised when he did that last season, Leclerc, it was in, I don't know how he doesn't slow that car down before. On these newer tracks, it seems the walls are getting farther and farther apart from where the actual track is. Cam DeLuca, first one to pit from P number 2. F1 Nerd follows in suit. They'll put on the nice soft tire. Oh, I mean the wet tire, of course. Better be the blue tire. Last week at... No, it wasn't last week. Where were we last? Oh, Monaco. 2 weeks ago it was Britain in the Platinum class. It was... Oh no, well last week it was rainy in Platinum, I believe. But it was a little... It was like such mixture of conditions. It was like dry, it was intermediate, it was just... It was more of a greasy race than a rainy race, I think. But 2 weeks ago in... What track was that? Britain did we do? I think, yeah, it was raining at the end of the British race for Platinum. And everyone was on intermediate tires, and the last few laps, it started downpouring. And it was really full wet conditions, but nobody wanted to pit because there was only 3 or 4 laps left, so everybody stood out for the most part. I think only a few stragglers went in, but it didn't really help them too much because of the pit lane loss that you do get. So people were struggling. J&B responds to Cam DeLuca, and that's what you have to do as the leader. Just you built that gap up in the first stint, and now He's responding, as does Carson. J&B's out of the pit lane. You see Camden Luca on the straightaway there. Around 3 seconds. He might gain a couple more tenths through this next sequence. J&B's tires are probably not up to par at the time being. Now this is probably not the track to do it because it is rainy. In the conditions, it seems like J&B is really the quickest driver here in these conditions. But if Camden wants to change and stop this snowball effect, at least on his end, it seems like J&B started off as a little snowball, and he's rolling down the hill, and he's getting bigger and bigger. And that threat of a championship that almost everybody has come in here thinking Camden Luca was your guy, your favorite. And J&B, if he keeps this up, if it stays green and he stays straight, it could be 5 in a row, which probably is a silver class record. I don't think anyone has won 5 in a row in silver, but we're starting to get up to the numbers where it means something. As the winning streak. Who's gonna beat the streak? It's like the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Who's gonna beat the streak? Closest battle on track, F1 Nerd and Carson. Got around 12 laps left in this race. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. I know it is just me. So, thanks for bearing with me. Carson has an opportunity, maybe send it down the inside. No, he'll follow suit. Try to get a nice exit. You can back these corners up nicely. In the rain, you could do some different altering lines to try and get that driver off the racing line. There's some other lines that kind of come into play when it starts to rain. Not so much in the dry. Send it down the inside. There it is, Carson. And that's exactly how you do it. You kind of push him off a little, but he didn't get that exit, or I don't know if he tried to give it back to him. F1 Nerd will concede as Carson up to third. And if these top three remain the same, I might, for the first time, probably ever, and I probably jinxed somebody, I would get the predictions right. I predicted J&B the win, Camden second, and Carson in third. If that happens, it's a win. I'm gonna feel happy. take this time to just mention that TCR's podcast, The Racing Debrief, will be making a return. We're trying to get it up for this next upcoming Monday, and once it comes back, we're going to start to really put in these episodes in for you, trying to grow the podcast more and more. We're trying to get the podcast, not only are we going to keep uploading it on YouTube, so if you watch on the YouTube and enjoy it, you could put it on whenever. We're going to try to talk some episodes about TCR, but we're going to try and make it more general motorsport based conversation. So if anyone has any topics or even want to be on an episode, you can let us know. The best way is to join our Discord. If you're already in there, you know what to do, how to reach out. But we're the most active in our Discord server. You also get information regarding points and stewards' decisions, information, everything TCR related. It is all in the Discord, so I do encourage you guys to use that. And you could also have direct access to some of these drivers. And we do a bunch of other open lobbies and good stuff, casual races from time to time. So that's always good stuff. But we're trying to get the podcast up on some other podcast apps like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that, to try and grab some other viewers that might be interested in it. So we'll be bringing that back in style, and hopefully, people will be able to listen when they want to. I've always enjoyed it, but hope you guys are as well. We've also, since we're here at France, I want to hear what anyone has to say about this idea. So, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, France has a bunch of different alterations, different configurations. And I know I've had this idea for a long time. I've always wanted to do it, although Camden brought the idea up and said that he had an idea about doing a race at France, a non-points race at France, but to use a different layout. And it's not only just France you could do it with. There's probably some other tracks you can use a differing layout. You just turn the rules off and say, hey, this is the layout we're running, and then just run the layout. So France is a great opportunity, because you see, like on the left there's an opportunity to cut the track there. You can use that sequence. So we're thinking maybe off season. I know by the time we finish our season, I think everybody's going to be done with the game because the next one will be coming out actually relatively short. I heard that it was coming out anywhere from like June 16th to the 20th or something like that, the middle of June, which is actually really early for a F1 release. I don't know if it actually came from the Codemasters or EA, or if I thought it came from a different account, but assuming it is true and it's middle June, I mean, we're ending, I think, in the first 2 weeks of June, so it doesn't leave us much time for an off season. I mean, we'll still have an off season, but we won't start our season up until when we usually do. I think everybody's praying that this next game is stable and works and is fun to play. We don't ask for much. We just want to... I just wish invites worked. I just wish an invite worked. And I hope it's a little bit more stable. The connection, the crossplay works a little bit better. The handling model can always get improved. I didn't actually have a problem with the handling. I thought it was a decent game, but I think a lot of other bugs and issues and stuff didn't really do too well. The biggest thing that I was upset about this game is, you know, they promised DLC tracks, and they gave us Portimao in China, which was already on last game. It's not even like you threw us, you know, Germany or like one other good track that hasn't been on the calendar in a long time. I'm not talking that we need 6 or 7 great tracks. That'd be cool. But like you gave us 2 tracks that were just on the schedule. Nobody missed China that much, and nobody's run around Portimao, especially in these cars. That was my biggest upset on this game. Another upset. Did anyone ever buy another couch in the EA lounge? I mean, honestly, I think it was cool for the first day you set your account up. You picked a couch, you picked your car, you put it in your lobby, you picked your hat, you picked your outfit. Did you ever go back and change it? No, not once. And if you did, you're probably not even good at the game. You probably came from The Sims. That EA garbage. That's what that is. The EA garbage. I got the same couch. When you buy one couch in your lifetime, you use the couch until it's ripped and it's broken and it doesn't work. I mean, it works, but how often you buy a couch? The first day you get a couch, you put a nice carpet down, you get a nice lamp, put some wall art on it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You keep your living room the same. How often are you gonna change your living room? I mean, I just picked out a couch at the beginning of this game. Now you want me to get a nice, classier couch? I don't know. I set my account up first day. I haven't even touched it. I forgot it was there, to be honest with you guys. And I unlocked all the supercars within 3 days. I had every supercar. It was so easy to get them, and we thought we would be able to race them on multiplayer, and you couldn't even do that. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope everybody thinks the same. I don't know. It's been pretty quiet in the comments, so I bet the 7 spectators that we have right now are probably disagreeing with me, and they probably change their couch in the EA game every single time they get on or something. I don't know. They probably bought pit coins to make sure that they can have the best looking living room. And while we have time, since J&B is just having a fun time splish-splashing around here in the adventure park. Another thing that was cool, I actually never played it, but there was one event a while back we were going to do. I had an idea for an elimination style race at Jeddah. It would have worked out perfectly, but we didn't get enough attention to do it. Basically, every lap, whoever was last on that lap would get eliminated from the race, and you just keep going on and on and on until eventually you're down to the final 2, and then you race it out. They added that elimination game, which I think is cool in a sense. I actually haven't played it. I don't even know if you could still play it. But they kind of just sneakily added that in. But those are some game modes that you kind of do want on the game, especially on multiplayer. You know, I say all the time, career mode is great. I think the career mode's fun. I'm not really for single player anymore at this time. It is cool, the R&D, the improvements you can make. That's fun. I think they have a nice career mode. I think a nice casual player will run and do that quite well. but the hardcore gamers, the hardcore league racers, the hardcore fan group for the F1 games is your league racers, the online drivers on multiplayer. And you know, there's so much more that could be done to multiplayer. If anything, I feel like it's gone backwards. There was one game in 2018, it was quite good, I believe it was 2018. They had a nice ranking system, and the ranking system in multiplayer ranked you. Everybody wanted to be at like that S level. Oh no! Camden left the race. He's left the race. I wonder if Carson will be able to close up the gap in the amount of times that are left, the amount of laps that are left. If he doesn't, he should still be credited with the P2 if his AI finishes. We do have a rule. I think it's around 5 minutes, so it is 9:55. Let's see if he's actively trying to get into the race. I know he's got his teammate who can definitely help send him an invite, but we'll see. I might be able to send one if I am asked to, but I don't want to mess the stream up either. Anywho, we'll keep an eye on this. The gap is coming down. We'll see if Camden can get back into this race and hang on to at least P2. The win is out of the question unless J&B has any big mistakes, although I think he'll go 5 in a row because he does see Camden, who left the race. And once you see that in these conditions, you kind of have to turn the engine down a little bit and just make sure you get that thing home. So a little bit of drama here towards the end. Will it be Camden or Carson? F1 Nerd does have that penalty, so it looks still like he can get a podium. And if he can get a podium, he'll go 8 races in this season. Every single race he'll be up on the podium, as J&B is not turning the engine down whatsoever. 145.8. The fuel load came down, and that's the fastest lap. And Camden got back in, so that is good. Let's see if he can get control of his car. And then if he's able to, we'll see that car go from ghosted to non-ghosted. Yep, and he is back. So welcome back, Camden. We've missed you. Let's have a round of applause for Camden Luca getting back into this race. For those who are watching, let's also hit the like button on the YouTube side of things. Support the stream. That definitely does help us out the most, especially if you're a TCR supporter and those who are a driver. It does help us out a lot. Whenever you come in here, just help us out. It helps us get these videos out to more and more league racers. Get more eyes on TCR, and not only the league, but also you guys. When you race, you have more and more supporters when it's time for you to get the gloves and steering wheel. We have a spin, and that is we are checking. If he comes into the pits and retires, he would still get 9th, and it would not be a DNF. It would be credited a finished race, because of the 90% rule that we do have. But I think he'll continue on. That's a warrior. So a little bit of a scare there between Camden and Carson, but it seems to settle out. And And I was saying earlier that it might not be this race that is needed for Camden to really start pushing the envelope here, but because it does seem J&B just had the nice speed advantage, and with that disconnect, in hindsight, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But I think going forward, next week we are at Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix. I call it not a street circuit, but I call it a park track. A nice little state park there. But the walls are close, a lot of chicanes. It could be a good track to really start pushing the envelope and giving it your all. Really getting into that mindset of ultimate attack. Because Camden has to try and turn that championship around for him. I mean, he's very consistent, so he's got that going for him. But you know, you can't finish second every race from here on out if you're on Team Camden and Alfa Romeo, because of the 7 points you're losing each race. So 7 in the last 5 races. If he's finished second, which I think he's done at most times, he's lost 35 points. And that's not including the fastest lap, and if he's finished worse than second, if third, then it would be even more than that. It could be 45, 55, you know, whatever it is. But there's still a lot of racing left in this season. We have the Canadian Grand Prix, then the United States Grand Prix. Then we take another week off for the All-Star race. We come back for the TCR Grand Prix in Monza. That'll have a feature race for the Silver class. It'll be a modified version of the TCR Grand Prix. Those who do not know what the TCR Grand Prix is, you can go to the website, find out what that unique format is. Silver will have a shortened down version of it. And then we'll come back and we'll do those final 4 races, which also includes a sprint race, 3-tire special at Hungary. So that can still shake things up in the championship. The only visual in this picture was J&B. That's the gap he has out in front. It's J&B and Camden. A few more corners left to go. I'll have to ask him if his race suit is wet or dry, and is it because of the rain or maybe some other fluids. It's gonna be J&B with 5 in a row in the silver class, taking his 5th win in TCR. He'll grab the French Grand Prix and start to close in even more on the championship leader of Camden Luca, who extends his streak of finishing on the podium for 8 races in a row. Carson will cross the line, crashing out into P3, and take a picture, put it on the fridge. Seafreeze predicted the top 3. That's the first time I think I ever did that. So I'm patting myself on the back. Capitan gets P number 4, helping out Haas even more. F1 Nerd had those penalties. Toblerone, solid race, man. Good stuff. Just nice, consistent run, start to finish. No real issues. You know, starting from 12th on back. That's what you want, especially in these conditions. Sometimes it takes bad conditions to really help a driver get their mindset right. And he had a great race, Toblerone. He should also get a pat on the back. Jabbar finishing out in 7th, Mr. Consistency in 7th, but he's going to have to do a little bit more if Alfa Romeo wants to turn this tide when you're looking towards the championship in Haas versus Alfa Romeo. You also had Halberg in P8. We are checking who did actually finish the race in P9. So 9 finishers, 9 people will get points. The others with the DNFs will not. And that was Oreo, who had that drive-through. It was really over before it even started. Unfortunate for him. CJ had some pace earlier on. Had a nice jump on actually the race leader. Had some issues. DNF'd in the pit lane, I do believe. And Bags DNF'd quite earlier on as well. J&B also gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so we'll get 1 extra point there. And let me do some mathematicians. Let's see if there's any change in leadership here. 134 plus 26, so J&B has 160. And Camden has 168. So there's 8 points between Cam DeLuca and J&B, and that is only 1 race win and a fastest lap. If he does this one more time, J&B does this next week, win and the fastest lap, Camden in second, that would be a tie in the championship. So they'd be nice, evened up. It's been Camden this whole way. We'll see if they can turn back the tide. It's a great storyline this season in Silver. I've been enjoying it. And we're going to hear from the drivers now. If anyone has any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I will ask the top 3. If not, if you're heading out, don't forget to tune back in tomorrow for the Golden class, same time, same place. Platinum class on Thursday, and then we'll see you here once more on a Tuesday next week for the Canadian Grand Prix, as we will start the post-race interviews. Alright, here we go. You all start falling in.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Got Camden. I'm just waiting on Carson. We'll start with Carson. And there we go. So we'll do this nice, quick, and easy. Start with P number 3 in the AlphaTauri. For Carson, another podium. You started up there on the front row. I predicted you to take the lead because your starts have been so good. They were. You had that spin. Ultimately, some trouble there, losing that lead, coming back enough to finish P3 in the end of it. Firstly, take us through that start, and how'd you feel at the beginning leading this race, and then what happened with the spin, and do you think you would have been able to keep out in front if you didn't spin, or it just wasn't meant to be?
Yeah, frustrating. I think I had similar pace to J&B and Camden. I just got on the power a little too early, I guess. I don't know how to look at it, but yeah, I kept pace with them for most of the race once I got past F1 Nerd. So I felt like if I didn't spin, I would have been, right up there. But it was a long, shitty race, to be honest.
Are you on a wheel or controller?
On wheel.
Wheel. I mean, this was even a full wet race start, but what's the secret behind those good starts of yours? Because it seems like almost every race you get off the line better than everybody.
A magician never reveals his secrets.
And a good magician never, is always good with those responses.
There's a method. I have a method, but
all right.
If I share it, I won't have any. That's my only advantage. So I'll keep that to myself.
Good. Fair enough. You had a nice battle with F1 Nerd. You got past him. How hard was it getting past him to get back up to P3?
We had different setups, so I would catch him in the straights, and he would gain like 3/10 in the corners. I would gain 3 to 5/10 in the straights. So it was very hard to find a spot, and I kept going after the last corner, and ultimately he didn't have to, but he let me go by, so that's just appreciated. But I tried to get it done as soon as possible, but it didn't. It's really hard to do it.
All right, and coming towards the end of the race, you saw Camden Luca disconnect. What were the glimpses of, hey, maybe I could steal another position there?
Yeah, I mean there wasn't a lot of time left in the race, so it's like even if he didn't join back, I don't think. I mean, I halved the gap, but I don't know. Even if he didn't rejoin, it would have been tough. He was like 12 seconds ahead of me at the time, so 12 seconds in like 4 or 5 laps. It's kind of the AI is very fast in the straights, but in the corners they were very slow. But I don't know. I was hoping for it, but didn't pan out.
Well, congratulations once again on another podium. It was nice to see you up there. Unfortunate spin. Unfortunate, as I guess you say, it was not the best race. Although I think podiums are still good. You'll get that win eventually. So keep on fighting. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Alright, we'll go to the Alfa Romeo of Camden Luca. Another pole position in the books. I think it was your 4th of the year. Unable to get the win. A little trouble off the bat as Carson gave you some run for your money. Then after that, it was really keeping the pace throughout most of it. We saw that one mistake, one little slide out of turn 2, I do believe it was. And that kind of lost you the gap to stay with J&B. Talk us through your race, P2 again. Another podium as well. That'll be 8 for the season, and also extending that all-time record for podiums. But talk us through it.
Well, there's a phrase that is being thrown around across NASCAR drivers where they say that my car is better than Xfinity 5G internet, and I think my car is way faster than Xfinity 5G internet. Yeah, that disconnect was quite scary at the end. I'm just glad I was able to get back in the session and coast across the line, if you will, for P2, and I think that's where I would have ended up regardless, even if I didn't make that mistake off turn 2. I mean, J&B was only 2 seconds ahead of me after that mistake, and he still pulled out, however many seconds until I disconnected. So congrats to J&B. His pace is unbelievable. His racecraft, too. I mean, every little mistake I made, whether it's just sliding on corner exit or what, like he would gain 0.3 on every little mistake I made. It's like, man, what more do I need to do? Like I'm pushing this thing as much as I can, and I just couldn't get up to him. So yeah, it's a good solid finish. I wish I was one spot better, but it's good to have the points lead going into the second half of the season, and hopefully it doesn't rain the next 2 races. I'm really looking forward to Canada and USA, so as long as things are pretty straightforward, then maybe we can get back in the win column, Seafreeze. I'm getting tired of finishing second.
Well, I mean, yeah, it could be frustrating, winning earlier on and haven't winning since. I mean, the races have been good, so that's been a positive, and you've been consistent as well, so that's been a positive. But looking forward to the next, few tracks on the schedule, what track do you think you can stop the slide from J&B winning those 5 in a row? Where do you think you can win out on him next?
Well, I think Canada is good just because of how difficult it is to not get penalties. And I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I have yet to get a corner cutting penalty all season long. So I feel like I'm pretty good at keeping my wheels on the racing surface. Coda, which is the week after, is one of my best tracks. So I'm really putting the expectations there that week. And then Hungary has been good for me. Not sure how to feel about Belgium, but I think I've been pretty good there in the past. So, you know what, Seafreeze? I just got to stay on the podium. I just find it really hard to believe that, obviously J&B is a great driver, but if I can just stay on the podium every race and still lose the championship, then I don't know. Maybe I should just retire. But there's a lot of good tracks coming up, and it'll be a good fight.
there you have it. A good race for P2. We'll see you next week at Canada. Trying to get that back on the top step. But Mr.
Yes, sir.
Consistency, Camden Luca, there you have it.
Thanks, man.
And we'll go to P number 1 for the 5th time in 5 in a row. J&B is taking Silver Class by the storm. Congratulations on yet another win. You started a little farther back than usual. I was looking at the qualies, and you were always started first or second every race this year. This is the first time you started lower than that, and it was third. I mean, whoa, let's not go too far back now. But you got the win. How'd that one feel? It seemed difficult out there with the full wet conditions.
The visibility was so bad, and it was such a close qualifying. And it was a good race for Team Hash. We scored some really good points.
Yeah, and through the visibility, how difficult was it at the start? You had a nice battle with CJ on the opening laps, and you were right there with Camden at the start. Are you in TV pod or cockpit? And really, how difficult is it with that dirty air?
Yeah, my camera angles and TV pod, and then at the beginning of the race, the visibility was bad, but over time it got better and better.
Nice. Once you got past Camden, you got the lead when Carson made his mistake. Were there any big moments for you out there? Was there anything that almost caught you out? How were you able to manage the rest of the race once you got the lead?
High gears, and then I had like 2 moments after, like in sector 2, like I kept going down to third gear after this actually no, before sector 2, those turns after the big straight. And then like 2 times I accidentally put it in third gear, and then I almost spinned.
Well, it was good enough for the win. I want to ask you, how much longer do you think you could keep winning? How do you feel next week at Canada? Could you go 6 in a row? It seems like you're not really under pressure. You're just kind of doing your thing, and I like that.
I mean, I think I could win in Canada. I'm really good at that track, and I have a lot of pace, and then I don't get much warnings there.
All right. Well, I like how relaxed you are. That's the way to go. Keep on winning. It's cool to see. Go break some records. Go make it 6 in a row at Canada. That'll be next week for the silver class. That'll do it here for the interviews. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in on your Tuesday evening. I know it wasn't the most thrilling race, although hey, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. That's sometimes what we're given, and you just got to take it and move on. Sometimes these are the races which makes the foundation for a championship based off of these more difficult races. So nonetheless, thanks for sticking with me and tuning in. Don't forget Golden Class tomorrow, same time, same place. Platinum Class on Thursday. Next week we are at Canada. You can check the description for more information. You have the website there. You can sign up and try to get on the grid for the remainder of this season. We have 15 races left, or not left, but in the season. You also have our Discord where you can join, where we are the most active. And until then, that'll be it here tonight from everyone back at TCR and myself, C. Freeze. It's been a pleasure. We'll do it again. Have a